Welcome to the Kind Leader Podcast, where empathy meets action in the world of leadership. Your host, Gino Degregori, engages with innovators and seasoned professionals from diverse sectors, all demonstrating the power of leading with kindness. And now, your host, Gino Degregori.
Today's guest reminds us that abundance isn't just about wealth. It's about how we show up for people, purpose, and partnership. Hi, I'm Gino Degregori, and welcome to the Kind Leader Podcast. Our guest today is Bernard Youngblood, brand strategist, entrepreneur, and workplace wellness advocate. He's a director of partnership at HotLogic. He's also the founder and CEO of Think Partners, helping for-profits and nonprofits grow through purpose-driven collaboration. He also hosts a podcast called Unboxing the Office, and he's known for building partnerships that blend creativity, conscience, and commerce. Why does this conversation matter? With everything that's happening, right, in a world that was focused on competition, Bernard shows how abundance and kindness can drive innovation and sustainable success. Bernard, welcome. I'm excited to dive in. So tell us more about yourself and, go as far as you want.
Well, I appreciate the very kind introduction. You read it just as I wrote it, and half of it might be true. It's true. I have always been a cause-oriented individual, or I say an accidental serial entrepreneur. Along the way, I have found causes, right, products, services, such that I felt needed to be released into the world. And I'm an entrepreneur that doesn't believe in exits. I think too many entrepreneurs are focused on the cash out,
right?
That inevitable event that, of course, is part of the capitalist model. Mm-hmm. But what I've always been focused on is the release of beauty. Right, mm-hmm. Try to find beautiful things that must be released into the world, and I've taken part in. And now I'm on number 8. I've been on a mission all my life to try to make the world a little bit better than how I found it, which is not really a Christian principle, so to speak. But I'm inherently I'm conflicted in many ways. So it's a mission that has guided my journey along the way. And it's been incredible. I can't wait to see where it goes. I'm not in charge. The big man's in charge. I'm just playing the role that I'm called to play.
Beautiful. Well said. And congratulations. I appreciate your background there. Where are you located?
So we live in Detroit, Michigan, hence the hat. No, yeah. I split my time between Detroit and Nashville.
Okay.
So I've started wearing the hat a little while ago because I have a big bald head. And it blinds people when it shines at them. The lights reflect off of it.
I love the hat. I'm not a hat. I mean, I'm wearing a regular baseball cap, but I always wanted to wear a cowboy hat. But
come on in. The water's warm.
I don't know. My wife is like, I don't know. You live in Virginia, so.
Oh, Virginia's got lots of cowboys.
Yeah.
Go to the Cow Lot, based in Denver, Colorado. There's the commercial. They make wonderful hats.
Nice. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to having an amazing conversation. One thing that popped in when you were talking, release of beauty.
Yes.
Where did that come from? I mean, I'm curious on that.
It's a derivative of a belief I've had for some time that we've all been given gifts. And if we are so fortunate as to have the opportunity to discover what those gifts are during our lifetime, not everyone does. I'm still in search of mine. Mm-hmm. Then it is our obligation to share them with the world. And as a derivative of that, there are beautiful things that have been created, not just the Mona Lisa, right? Or dare I say the iPhone, which I know as a Microsoft guy, that the hair on the back of your neck stands up. But beautiful things that are meant for the world.
Yep.
And it's a tragedy that in the capitalist model, which is the best economic model there has ever been, of course, wink, it's tragic that in many cases, what organizations do is they buy technology and they destroy it because they view it as a competitive threat. And I understand the business does as business does, but in my estimation, I think that's a tragedy because I think the world needs more beauty, not less. Despite, of course, the ambitions of our nefarious entrepreneurs that are, as I suggested, always dreaming of that exit, right? Cashing out, despite the consequences, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for that answer. And I'll pull more threads because I think I got ahead of myself. I was so excited to dive right into that. I forgot the first question that I love asking my guest is, what does being a kind leader mean to you?
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, let's start with, as a philosopher once said, begin with the ending in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and we'll get to this, I'm sure, inevitably. I think being a kind leader is one of the core success strategies of survival in the age of AI. But notwithstanding that subject, the being a kind leader, to me, it's all about emotional intelligence, EQ, being able to, dare I say, feel, right? The pain of the customers that you serve, the employees that work so diligently to serve them, and the suppliers, of course, in addition to your board members and shareholders and all the stakeholders involved. Stepping away from the dashboards and the KPIs that were engineered to tell you whatever you want to hear, right? Stepping away from the numbers to understand where the business is headed, what it is that you are intended to do, who it is that you truly serve. To me, that's an encapsulation of the many, many facets that a kind leader must wrap their mind around.
I like that. Thank you for that description. Basically, what you're saying is that EQ is very important, but the feeling, right? I mean, you don't really get to talk about feelings in the business world, right? It's like, I don't care about your feelings. Are you delivering numbers? Yes or no? Are you doing your task? Yes or no? Right.
Right.
And that's been the trend for I guess a century or more, right? I mean, it's and it's interesting that it's shifting a little bit because now with the technologies and everything, all of us being so connected, I think we have a great opportunity right now to go deeper into that. I'm reading and listening before even, because this kind leader mindset or philosophy came to me about 5 years ago, right around COVID. I guess it's going to be 6 years here pretty soon. Crazy. Time just flies.
Yes.
And to me, it's right on what you're saying, right? It's really understanding and being empathetic about the other side, your customers, your employees. And that feeling is real. We are humans at the end of the day. We're not robots.
I'm going on your podcast. I'm going to make it official. I'm calling it, right? Okay. I believe we've reached the end of management by KPI.
I like that.
When you have social media is horrible, of course, right? It's new technology. We're still trying to figure out what it is. But when you have the ability, right, or I should say the burden of viewing an employee at a coffee company breaking down in tears, or a customer of a burrito company saying WTF, right? And when you're flooded with this messaging of, what is this company doing? Why is this organization behaving in this way? We are achieving, dare I say, near transparency, right? Which, of course, has a tremendous impact on brand, right? As a marketing guy, right? I'm concerned about brand. And at the same time, here comes AI. AI is advantage small teams. And so large organizations have the most to lose, right? And the intersection of these things, I think in the next 10 years, they call it creative destruction for a reason, right? It's wonderful and horrible all at the same time. We're going to witness a reckoning of bad behavior. And AI will be the gasoline that's poured on that fire. And large organizations who do not understand this will be destroyed.
Yep.
Careful word choice, destroyed.
Yeah.
And it's already begun.
Yeah.
And so one of the reasons why I was looking forward to this podcast is because you are the canary in the coal mine.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. Ringing the bell. Paul Revere, right?
That's
the British are coming. That if you don't wrap your mind around this idea of emotional intelligence, you're done.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Right. There's the door. Right.
Yeah.
So it's more relevant than ever.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for the acknowledgement. And this, to me, like, I've been leading this technology company for the last 18 years here in December. And it's been quite the journey, to be honest, right? It's been quite, to your point, it's like, I'm also an entrepreneur that I'm here for the long haul, right? I'm been doing this 18 years. I'm still pretty young, and I have 18 more, maybe more than that, right? So I'm seeing, I put it out there, Bernard, that we are building an organization that leads with kindness that is going to be touching folks worldwide. And the number from a people perspective, 50,000 plus organizations, the next generation, it's the next way of, to your point, of doing business and really connecting with our folks. Because if we don't talk about that, it's going to be hard. I mean, with technology is going to go faster. You've seen the large companies already being disrupted, right?
Yes.
They're trying to figure out. I'm reading articles from MIT, from Harvard, right? I'm taking some classes too, and they're all talking about the same thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a podcast. I'm talking about just that, right?
Yes.
So, how do we embrace that? How do we go about doing that? So, but one thing I wanted to circle back to ask you is the end of the leading and managing by KPI.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand, if you can't measure, everything needs to be measured, right? And, you're playing a game, you got to know who's winning, that kind of stuff, right? How do you measure this? How do you measure leading with kindness? And what is that impact that we're really making, right?
Right. That's a difficult question, right? As I say, you can't control what you can't measure. You can't manage what you can't control. I forget how that works.
Yeah.
It's supposed to make sense. But the trouble with KPIs, and I was a management consultant at the turn of the millennium, back in the post 2000. It's a well-known fact that KPIs are engineered to tell you exactly what you want to hear. In order to make their clients happy, that's what management consultants do, tell you what you want to hear. What's being exposed, right, as people are, 50,000 people are laid off by email, right, as people are terminated by text, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
These are things, right, with a little bit of exaggeration. These are things that are happening. And the repercussions of that, as we witness these people sitting in their cars breaking down into tears, some of which is true and some of which I'm sure is fabricated, right? It's having an impact on those brands, right? But how do you measure? But you ask the very relevant question: how do you measure kindness?
Yeah.
What is the KPI for kindness? I think in the next, again, this is going to take years as the age of AI descends upon us. What we're going to witness, and I'm sure there are, the management consulting business is a wonderful business, of course, right? Some of them are doing wonderful work. I think one of the facets that they're going to start to wrap their minds around is this idea of loyalty, right? Recruitment, retention of your best and brightest, and all these things. Our workforce, Gen Z, is more mobile than ever, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's an unwritten rule that your best people are going to leave you first because they have 10 job offers already, right? The loyalty, recruitment, and retention, I think, are among, I'm sure, many KPIs that will evolve to measure kindness, because it's become a cliche. It's so true that people don't leave bad jobs; they leave bad managers.
That's right. Right? Yeah.
And if you can retain those best and brightest, I think it'll bear out that you've demonstrated kindness. You're not easy. You're not a pushover. You don't let people get away with all their garbage.
Yeah.
You don't let the numbers slip. But you can be kind.
Yeah.
Even in a difficult environment.
Right.
Right. Just by the way you handle the day-to-day transactions.
Absolutely.
I think it can be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate the answer. I know it's a tough question because there really isn't any metrics right now. So I threw it out there. I know you can handle it. But for me, I share with you that I'm taking this course, an MIT course. It's called Tech CEO. I was surprised. I was in there. I'm going to go into this course and learn all about AI and how to be a great tech CEO. On the first 2 months were all about management, and a lot of that was leading with empathy. They didn't call it kindness. It was yeah.
That's very encouraging.
I was very impressed. And proud too. And one of my assignments this weekend, I'll just throw it out there, was, what is your impact in the next 5 years? And for me, kept coming up is, I want to be known as the company, right? That we have proved that kindness and high performance are not opposites.
Right.
I want that kind leader brand to kind of show that we can build an amazing organization, global organization, that leads with empathy, humanity, and purpose.
Yes.
Right. So, and those are the things that I know it resonates well with you, right? And going back to the purpose-driven capitalism, right? I want to really understand, what do you do and what are you doing and what's your perspective with, how are you helping other organizations right now?
So where the idea came from, and this has been a debate that has raged in my family amongst my friends for decades now. I've long since had a challenge with this mentality that business transactions must be structured as win-lose. But unfortunately, in our culture, and a lot of this comes from our early childhood and from our participation in sports, we teach children from a very young age that in every transaction that they approach, there will always be one winner and one loser.
Right.
Baseball, football, take your pick. And so, and that's done from a very young age all the way through their formative years. And so when they enter adulthood and go into the business world, of course, they're programmed, right?
It's just like that.
In some respects. And so they enter every business transaction as there must be one winner and there must be one loser. And I think it's wrong. I mean, I understand the purpose of sports, right? That, of course, ties really suck. But in business, this is not, and in my professional career, if I had a nickel for every time, it's remarkable how top-tier executives consistently negotiate to kill the deals that, of course, they are intended to close. It's remarkable, but that's where it comes from. Top-tier professionals, they don't look at a transaction as this is what I have to gain, this is what they have to gain. Let's see where we can come somewhere in the middle. They approach every transaction from how do I destroy my adversary. It's like they're on the foot. I'm a Detroit Lions fan, so people can appreciate the sentiment here. They approach the business transaction of how do I destroy my opponent, as opposed to, I need to meet my requirements, and they obviously need to meet their set of requirements. Can we find some kind of middle ground?
Right.
Can we achieve a win-win? Right.
Exactly.
So when you talk about the purpose-driven organization, there's many facets to it. One, of course, releasing beauty into the world, right? That'd be wonderful. I love those. I love those organizations. And the kind leader, right? Those that are led with kindness, which of course is critical in the age of AI. But third, I'm going to add to that an organization that structures transactions from a win-win, when possible, not always possible, whenever possible, from a win-win perspective. You don't have to destroy your competitor, right? I'm an Apple guy. You're a Microsoft dude, right? We can get along, right?
Of course we can, yeah.
We'll talk about that later. But it's not necessary to destroy your competitor. You can both win. And I'm telling you what, I see it every day. It's really tragic.
Yeah.
People negotiate for their own destruction.
Yeah. So well said there, Bernard. And I think I'm very passionate about the win-win. There's two things that drive that, right? It's perspective, and the other one is abundance versus scarcity mentality, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yes.
If you have a very much scarcity mentality and you don't have the perspective of the other side, you will always have the win-lose approach.
Yes.
It's more about truly understanding the other side. Like if you and I negotiating about something, right? If I don't understand you and your perspective, and then what does a win look like to you, right? Regardless of what I want, I always approach a negotiation and understanding what is a win, right? Yeah. And look at all the different angles, right? Because if you and I are looking at the same, I was using this analogy on last week with one of my employees. If you and I are looking at a number and the number below us, I'm looking at a 6, you're looking at a 9. No matter what, if I stay here, I will never look at a 6. I will always look at my number, right? I need to understand and go around your side and be like, oh, you know what? That's right. That number is a different number than what I'm seeing. But then how do we go around that? And I don't think we're asking the right questions, right? And also I'm in negotiation, very transparent. Like here is what is a win to me. I would appreciate if you can let me know what's a win. And I approach negotiation a little bit different. I'm very much, I don't like playing. I don't like playing poker, right? I'm like, we are here. There's so much opportunity. There's so much abundance. And if you don't have abundance in your mentality or approach, you're going to very much close hold and be like, no, I'm going to keep as much as I can because I don't know if that's going to be there tomorrow. And I said, and I challenged that, and we're like, no, there is more. I mean, if maybe this opportunity doesn't work, but there is more to it, right? Don't be so short-sighted for the long perspective. I don't know your thoughts on that.
Oh no, I agree 100%. Perspective is something. I know one of the guests of my podcast is just now publishing a book, "The Power of Perspective."
Oh, nice.
By Ricky Harris. There's the commercial. But that is something that many people sadly are lacking. And when we went through COVID just a short time ago, it's been multiplied because we were all drawn inward. We all went home, right? We used our phones to look outward, right? But we lost those human connections, and as we lost those human connections, we lost the perspective that they provided.
Yep.
So it's been a problem. It continues to be a problem. It's going to be I think, it's just like the generation that went through the Great Depression.
Yep.
Right? Our great grandparents, they kept their cash in their mattresses. They never learned to trust banks once again. Whether or not this generation ever learns to affirm those human connections again is yet to be seen.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that. And pulling on the thread on abundance, right? Scarcity. What are your thoughts on that? I know that's a big topic of yours too, right? From scarcity to abundance. How do we go about, educating or working with our folks to let them know that it's a mindset thing?
If you look at the hard numbers, again, let's much as I talk against KPIs, let's talk about numbers.
Is that right?
As I mentioned, I'm a picture of conflict. So I'll start off by saying scarcity is a myth. In fact, if you just talk to any scientist, diamond is one of the most common materials in the universe. And gold, one of the most common materials in the universe, right? And of course, we can't get to it because it's in the asteroid belt outside that space. But let's talk about the money supply. Now, don't get me started on debt and all these things. But the transactional, the fungible money supply on planet Earth, you can Google this, is approaching $1 quadrillion. If you take all the transactional cash and equivalents on the planet, all currencies, right? Add it all up, we are nearing the headline number of $1 quadrillion in dollar equivalents, right? Circulating around the world. Is a demonstration that scarcity is a myth. Let's take all those cash equivalents and divide it up by the 8.3 billion people that currently sit on the planet, and you would drop a duffel bag of cash on each person, man, woman, and child of $175,000.
Wow.
Scarcity is a myth.
Yeah.
We just have as humans, we just have a really crappy way of organizing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's hoarding.
No.
I'm saying we have a really crappy way of organizing ourselves. Where is the water? Yeah. Where is the food? Right? Yeah. Where is the fuel, so to speak? Let alone the gold and the diamonds and everything else that goes along with it. And don't get me started on diamonds. But I don't have the answer.
Right.
And after 3,000 or 30,000 years, depending on which God you pray to, clearly we don't have. Our society has not discovered what the answer is.
Right.
Kindness is a hint, right?
Yeah.
But it's going to be some time before we solve that problem.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate that perspective, because the thing that I'm trying to look at is I correlate scarcity, fear, right? Fear is also an illusion because it starts in the mind and limits you in so many ways, right? And the first thing's like, oh, can I do this? No, you cannot. You're not ready. Ready is also not a feeling, right? Ready is it's you'll do it whenever when you do it, right? You just got to take the first step, the next step to move forward, right? That's always been my philosophy, right? And when it comes to the abundance mentality, I use it in the business world all the time. I use it in my negotiations. I use it when I talk to partners, right? I just recently met with a large business, and the same way I talk to you is the same way I talk to them. Look, we are here to create a transformational partnership, and it requires investments in both parts. And I'm ready to invest in making this relationship and partnership, right, be a very impactful one, not only for our businesses, but for the employees and our customers around, because we all bring different perspectives. But the big thing that I said is abundance has to be part of that, as well as leading with kindness. we treat each other with respect, and we look at opportunities from there's many opportunities, we are going to win, right? So just thought I share that. I think it's working so far for me and in my relationships that I'm building. I recommend people to kind of just be open to that.
Well, if I might interject, and I'll have to audit myself.
Yeah.
We use a simple rule which encapsulates everything you just said, and it's four words.
Okay.
Don't be a blank. Fill in the blank.
Exactly.
Don't be a blank.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I've worked, and biblically speaking, we're taught to abhor evil. I've worked very fervently to push bad people out of my life.
Yes.
And it's something that a lot of folks criticize me for. As a Christian, you must accept everybody. You must bring them all in. But no, that's actually not the case.
Mm-hmm.
We're taught to abhor evil and hold fast to good, right?
Yeah.
There's a difference between holding fast and abhor, right?
Yeah.
And so I've worked very diligently to push evil out of my life, which takes effort.
Good.
But it's a concept not a lot of folks agree with.
I have a question that I'm hesitant to ask because we're already halfway into it. It might take us a lot of time.
Bring it.
I'll ask it. I was having a conversation with a very religious person last week, and I asked him this question. What is what's good and bad? How is good and bad defined? And I won't go into the details on what he said, but the way I kind of interpreted it, and I said, energy, if you look at energy cannot be created or destroyed, right? Energy can be, push or pull, right? Taken or given, right? And I saw that my correlation, and he sort of understood, and maybe I would love your perspectives, like, good is when you give and you're giving energy, you're giving good energy. Bad is when you're taking energy. So when you go in a room and you feel that negative energy coming and being taken away, that you can feel it, you can sense it, right? So I may be dumbing it down or simplifying it too much, but that's how I kind of see the good and bad. So when you feel people that are taking energy from you, I run away from that. And I said, yeah, maybe this is not our path to be together. So
there are many, many ways to define it. But I would answer that question by suggesting that just like darkness is the absence of light.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Evil is the absence of good.
Yep.
And as biblically speaking, if you are kind to one who is evil, it is the same as pouring hot coals on their head. They can't stand it, right? Given sufficient time, there is no enemy that you cannot defeat with love.
That's right.
I've defeated all the greatest enemies of my life with love.
That's right.
Right. So once they allow the light, the goodness to come in, the evil runs away. It's a very metaphysical, spiritual argument, I suppose, but it's one that's fun to play around with.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you very much, and I appreciate that perspective too. And because I'm a very spiritual person, I grew up Catholic, right? Born and raised Catholic. Got married into the Methodist Church. But one of the things that we do is, we the kindness thing that I push with the business is we do it at home too, right? We want to make sure that our kids, at the end of the day, no matter what, you got to be kind, right? You got to lead, understand, and drive and help others at the end of the day, no matter what, right? So I'm very blessed and thankful to be able to have a good family and be able to influence and lead and have a good business, right? So it's a good opportunity at the end of the day to understand that we are all, wanting to be good. We're brought into this world to do good things, to experience the journey in this world in a good way.
Well, I feel compelled. I agree with everything you said, but I feel compelled to insert a qualifier.
Sure.
That I was standing outside a coffee shop one day with a good friend, and he watched this gentleman come by. That ordinarily we might give pause to this idea that we were in a safe area, so to speak. We felt a little bit threatened, just a little bit. And my friend said to me, look at that, insert platitudes here. And I said to him, we don't know who that person is. I call it, as a Christian, we're intended to call out our brothers and sisters, right?
Right.
And I said to him, we should remind ourselves that we don't know where he came from. We don't know what kind of childhood he had. We don't know if he had a father. We don't know if he had a mother. We don't know if he had a chance.
Yep.
Like, as Christians, we like to think everyone has a chance, but everyone has a different journey. we don't know if he had a chance in his life.
Right.
And it's, as we're told, we should not judge. You can't be stupid about these things. But as I'm taught from another friend of mine, we have to keep in mind the day you meet someone might be the worst day of their life.
That's right.
Right.
No.
We have to keep this in mind as we interact with our brothers and sisters. And this goes back to kindness, right? You should be kind, not stupid,
right,
but kind. And we all follow the journey that we are intended to take. That's one of the reasons I don't wear my faith on my sleeve. I don't know what their journey is.
Right.
So I believe it's our responsibility to help them along in their journey, whatever that journey might be.
That's right.
But I'm not going to shove them.
Yeah.
So it's a very difficult concept to navigate.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate you sharing that story, and it makes sense for sure. So I know we're coming up with time here. So the next segment I would like to do is flip the mic, where I ask my guests to ask me a question. So you have a question for me?
Oh, yeah, I got a question for you. But I couldn't ask it, so I had to strike that one. I came up with another one. I had to strike that one.
Okay.
But this is question number 3. So in spirit in which it's intended, all good fun.
Of course.
My dear friend,
yes,
I can count on one hand with 5 fingers missing the number of times I've had the good fortune to work with an IT professional who was kind. I'm not going to ask you how it is that you exist, but what I am going to ask you is, what are the greatest challenges you found in, I'm sure, what I will describe as your struggle, right? In being a kind leader in an otherwise, I'll say, very analytical space of information. IT is an analytical space.
It is.
High IQ, low EQ. How do you do it?
Yeah, it's not easy, for sure. It's not easy because people are not seeing the same. They don't see my perspective, right? So it's taking a lot of time. And one of the things I was sharing with you around COVID time, it did bring us in. It all brought us home, and it brought me in too, in a way that I started kind of going deeper, like meditating and kind of clearing my head and like just making sure, almost like asking. I turned 40 around that time, and I was like, what am I here? What am I doing? Right? Asking those questions. And one thing that kept coming up, kind, like just kept one of those words. I just kept thinking about it or popping up or seeing it here and there, right? I started incorporating it more into my organization, and people started connecting to it. Right, I had a really good person that is still on my team, and is doing a great things. And he's like, "Well, tell me a little more about that." So I started explaining, "This is the culture, and here's the things that we want to do," and it was great. And then about a year and a half, the podcast came up in a way that I didn't want to. I was like, I'm a very introverted individual. I'm not an extra. I don't like going out there and being the limelight, right? And an opportunity came up to start this podcast. And I said, well, nobody wants to listen to an IT person talk about kindness. That's the first thing. Nobody wants to listen to that, because it's to your point, it's like nobody talks about feelings and emotions and that kind of stuff. You'd be surprised, Bernard, as I was reaching out to people, hey, I'm thinking about this. Oh, yes, I would love to be part of your guest. I would love to talk about that, right? And there were so many people around my ecosystem that were very much, and maybe I was already attracting them right into my world before the podcast that they came in. So yes, not everybody is online, but I am connecting, and I'm making an awareness out there, putting this out there to make it aware that, to your point, you don't have to be a blank, right? To lead an organization, to meet your numbers. Lead with kindness, connect with your people, take care of your customers, truly invest in the right area so you all can continue to grow together. If you see that from a growth and everybody's growing together, you're going to be so much more powerful, right? In a good way, right? To be able to deliver more impact and value to your customers at the end of the day. And I'm seeing that more and more. So
that's awesome. You are an inspiration, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Great question. All right, let's go into rapid fire questions here that I have. So what's one book that you recommend?
Oh, so as a survival guide in the age of AI, I'm going to take you back to 1998, I think it was.
Okay.
Unleashing the Killer App by Chunkamui and Larry Downs. I'm reading the sequel right now.
Wow.
Unleashing the Killer app published the 12 principles back then of what they called killer apps, which I believe could be used as 12 principles for navigating the age of AI.
Nice. Okay. I love it. We'll put it in the show notes here. What's a practice that keeps you grounded when the world feels noisy?
No, I am unusual. I'm a workaholic. That's not unusual. But my meditation,
Okay.
and meditation's important. I think everyone should do meditation. My meditation is email, which is really weird. I'm not talking about inbox zero.
Yeah.
The way I clear my head, the way I calm my nerves is by cleaning out my email box.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Maybe it's because I'm anal retentive and it just feels good to clean it out. But
Right.
but I've never achieved inbox zero. I'm nowhere near. But
there's always that email you got to respond to, right? That's all. I'll get to it later.
I get my best ideas when I'm just plowing through, just bum 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 bum. The did I mention I'm weird?
Yeah.
Weirdo is my brand.
Weird is perspective too, right? Yeah, you know.
Yes, perhaps.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. If you could have dinner with someone in the past or the present, who would it be and why? And what type of restaurant you would go to?
So I'm going to answer that with a very gratuitous response of my grandfather. I did not have a father growing up. My grandfather stepped into the role. But at the time, so I don't really know what a father does, right? We have 2 children now. I don't know how they survived. That's thanks to my dear wife. But I would love, and it might seem self-serving, to have dinner with my grandfather, to ask him how he did it, to ask him if he intended to step into the role of my father or if it was an accidental role for him, to ask him what was it that he saw in me, right? And what compelled him to do this, aside from of course, the things that grandfathers do, all the usual things, as you might imagine. I've never thought about this before, but thank you for the question. Yeah. We'd go to the Beef Carver, which is one of his favorite restaurants, which went out of business a little while ago.
Beef Carver, nice. Okay.
Yeah, it's a buffet restaurant that he loved here in Michigan.
Nice.
But yeah, my grandfather, he passed at the age of 90.
Wow, long life there, long life.
So he did pretty well for himself, but
amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I know that's a personal thing, but I appreciate that. That's awesome. And this one of the things I like asking is that the impact when it's people. Sometimes people give people that they didn't know, but I love it when people mention people that made an impact in their life, right? That no longer here potentially, right? That and that's what we're here to do, Bernard, right? Is to not only bring good energy, kindness, and leading, but also creating that impact for people. Like everything that we're doing, somebody's watching, somebody's listening, somebody's seeing the things, right? And sometimes I'm surprised that I say something in a podcast or say something in a meeting, and they're like, you know what? That thing that you said really inspired me to do X. It really gave me the opportunity or the push to do Y, right? And it's those things that make it so amazing, right? Because that's what we're here to do, great things. And generational impact is what I like to say too. Awesome. One thing that I'm going into is the call to action for our listeners here. Now, if this episode really inspired you, please share it with someone who might be interested in listening to the conversations that Bernard and I just had. Great conversation, great perspective and insights right into the different things from abundance to leading with kindness. So I would love to hear and see more feedback from the folks out there. So thank you for sharing. But Bernard, where can our listeners find you and learn more about you?
Oh, I am in all the places that old man shouldn't be. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, the Bernard Youngblood, as Director of Partnerships for HotLogic. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the alternative to the microwave. Yeah. You'll see that. And we're doing all kinds of AI marketing programs for that enterprise. So that's lots of fun. I am everywhere. I'm tough to avoid. Just look for the hat.
Look for the hat. I love it. That's a marketing connection there. Any final thoughts that you want to leave to our audience here?
I cannot emphasize it enough, Gino. What you're onto is going to be the key. I think in the future that is yet to come, kindness is the one strategy, the Northern Star, that will guide your organization, your ship, out of the hurricane, or typhoon, depending on where you are, that is AI. Yeah. Kindness. Yeah. That's the Northern Star. That's where you have to go. trust.
Yeah. Thank you, Bernard. I appreciate you letting us know that that is our North Star, right? Really great conversation with you. It's been a pleasure connecting, getting to know you a little bit more, having great conversation and learning. This is what I always get out. So thank you for making the time and believing in this podcast and being part of this conversation.
I appreciate the work that you do. You're making a difference, my friend. In IT, no less. Kindness in IT.
I know.
Holy cow.
It's crazy out there for sure. But thank you again. And to our audience, thank you for listening to the Kind Leader podcast. And remember, be kind, bring value, rise together. Have an amazing day, everybody.